I want to thank any elected officials as well as members of boards or other commissions that have joined us this afternoon. While the largest percentage of the folks that you represent are not experiencing homelessness, there is a small percentage within every district and every area of an elected official's life that does have someone who woke up without anything to their name. So we are grateful for your continued presence in this conversation and what you bring to it. We hope that today you take away from this meeting something that you didn't come with, and that you apply that in your world and in your networks of influence to the greater good. And so I think I've hit on all of it, Susan. This is kind of the problem with me.
Did you thank the staff here?
Oh, and a huge one, thank you for, wait, who's that?
You and
COC
Center.
Yes, okay, sorry about that, as well as, of course, thanking the generosity of the COC Center for having us here, as well as the staff who helped set it up. I do believe I saw people who were wearing button downs and dress pants. I can never have a nice thing. She's dead.
No, that
it worked. Okay. For setting up the tables and getting everything ready to go. And again, also want to thank all the members of the steering committee that are here today. I see a good portion of you guys here, which is wonderful. And especially a huge thank you to the staff of GHA for their tireless efforts of keeping me in line, as well as keeping the conversation alive that is so very important, as well as the staff and representative agencies of the continuum of care. We truly are a continuum, and we hope to implement programs and processes that show our care and love for the people who otherwise don't exist for the majority. So thank you.
and Lynn Ballard is up.
See? She almost raised the stuff thing.
So on the back of your agenda is the information that Lynn Ballard, our county council member, will cover.
Good afternoon. I'm Lynn Ballard. I'm Green County Councilman, Council District 26, which is the bottom third of the county. County Council, in particular, Dr. Fant and myself, have been working on affordable housing since 2016. And in the past year, we've really put some effort into it because, as all of you know, we have real challenges. The cost of land has skyrocketed. The cost of building materials has skyrocketed. The availability of materials is challenging. And we were literally getting to the point of trying to get people to build affordable housing was just almost asking the impossible by the time they bought the land and bought the materials. So we looked at what could we do from the county's effort to help offset some of the costs of building the affordable housing. So I thought I assumed my
Slide's
my
going to
charts
advance.
on my slides on the screen. Okay.
Yes.
What we did is put together a guideline. And we have said that if you are going to build apartments, you can have so much percentage as affordable, and we will give you this much tax incentive break. The more that you commit to affordable, the more the break you get. And it's not spelled out exactly, 51% equals this amount or whatever. We put this as a guideline, and we had some problem. Matter of fact, I was talking to a young man in the back before the meeting. He was at the council meeting, and some of my colleagues didn't understand. This doesn't cost anybody anything. This isn't committing a dollar. This is just the parameters for us to work with. each individual project that is brought to us will then be evaluated against the parameters. And if you have a project, and let's say we had 25% on the chart, but you need 24 or 23, or you got 26 or 27, this is a parameter. And we'll take what you need and try to fit it into the parameters so that it all works. And our goal is to address the issue of the missing housing in Greenville County, which is the people between, what is it, 50 and
40 and 80, 40 to 80.
40 to 80 AMI. Now, we had other people say, well, you know, we've got a lot of people below that. Well, I understand that, but we got to start someplace. Remember, Dr. Fenton and I have been working on this 6 years, and this is when we finally got it to council this week, or this past week, got it through council. It's a start. But the other thing we're looking at, and I believe the term is downward pressure, where there are people today living in housing that they could afford more housing, but it isn't available. So if we make housing they can afford available, that'll open up housing that people that aren't as well off can afford. And we know this will happen. At what percentage, we don't know. But that, does that, Susan asked me to explain this in layman's terms, and I tried.
Is Tina Belcher here? Yeah.
Yeah,
Tina, anything
all
else
right,
that you want to?
Tina, have I forgotten anything?
Tina's giving you the thumbs up.
Okay, well, I was asked to put this in layman's terms. That's what we're trying to do. It's something new for county council, but we're committed to it, and I think big benefits will happen.
And it can work for any municipality within the county as well. Like it's countywide. So just that can.
Well, yeah, it's countywide, but of course, once you get inside a municipality, that's their own situation.
But I think it can help projects, correct,
Oh,
Tina?
it'll help
Like,
projects, no question about it.
inside the
All right.
municipalities. Yep. Thank you, Lynn.
You're welcome.
Then I have a comment, and you won't believe I'm going to say this, but I think what y'all have done absolutely deserves a round of applause. It's awesome.
Just say, it hasn't been that long ago when a city councilman, county councilman wouldn't even talk to each other. I appreciate that, Russell. Thank you very much.
All right, Lorraine.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to look at my slides, so I'm probably gonna have to get down here so I can see them and yell.
That might probably work if you move it.
You think it will?
Okay.
Well.
Yeah, you
know
can
what
take,
happened last time.
can you get the microphone? There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
All righty. So, my name's Lori Crow. I'm in the city of United, and I'm moving, and I think that's why. Yes. Okay. So Susan asked me to talk a little bit about public-private partnership, and just the key to us is the key to supportive housing, to building supportive housing. Next slide. So we get a lot of questions all the time about, what's the big deal? Why can't we just build units? What's up? And when you get to between 50 and 80 to 120% AMI, you can make these numbers work. It's work. That's like Lynn said, you have to have things like tax abatement, which is what he's talking about. Some other, just some other capital stats that can help with that, with that affordability and being able to produce those units. But the reason why at 30% or below, there's several. In my mind, there are three major reasons. One is affordable housing is a relative term. everybody thinks when they talk about affordable housing, they're talking about the housing that I think is affordable. And so for us who are in the Homeless Alliance and in the continuum, we're in the 30% or below, sometimes 50% or below, but generally it's that housing authority is the same way. So that's how we define affordable, but it's not how everyone defines it. So there's an issue. And then housing at 30% AMI presents capital challenges, raising capital. And it's not so much as raising the capital, it's the debt service on the capital, right? We'll talk about that in a minute. And then housing at 30% AMI presents operational challenges. We'll talk about why that is as well. So on this slide, we see that what the fair market rent right now is in Greenville County for a studio unit all the way to a 3-bedroom unit. And generally, that's the family makeup or the household makeup that we generally serve. Some 4-bedroom units, but at any rate, when you look at the income for AMI at 30%, that figure is $16,250 income a year per household. So if you're talking about a household that makes no money, and then you talk about 30% of that $16,250, what they reasonably can afford, as we define as affordable, 30% their income, their rent, they can afford $406 a month. Simple math. So, but when you creep up into the 50 to 80% AMI, you look at the annual income, 30% of that, you look at, we get a little, the numbers crunch a little better. There's a little more affordability. If you build units between the AMI of 50 and 80% to under 20%, you can devote percentages of those units to be able to offset your operational cost in terms of the way that you're taking in rent or what that rent value is. Next slide. And so capital challenges at 30% AMI, the only way that we believe that we can tackle at this point is assuring that tenants can pay rent. That's another issue we have with our friends, is many may not have jobs, they may be disabled. There may be all kinds of conditions or considerations that they may not have the income, or they may have it sporadically. Well, if you're paying operational dollars, you can't have sporadic rent. You gotta have it consistently. So we talk about subsidy, and that's, I think we have Liva is going to talk a little bit about subsidy, but that's the way that we feel that being able to guarantee that rent and be able to build those and sustain those operational dollars is through subsidy, whether it's a community funded subsidy or it's a voucher program like the Housing Authority provides, project-based or housing choice voucher program. Next slide. And so we'll just talk a little bit about a case study. So Church Street at Poe Mill will have a dedication, by the way, November 1st. It's a groundbreaking at 10 o'clock. Or on 50 Church Street Place. So please sign up and come. If you don't have the link, let me know. I'll send it to you. But we'd love to have you there. So this project cost $9.9 million. In 2020, when we put the application into SE Housing, $6.7 million is what the project costs. This is how much it's increased due to supply chain issues, material costs, and labor since that time. So as you can imagine, we had to go back to SE Housing, get all of that through underwriting again to qualify the project. So it took us, again, we started from zero. So not going to complain about that anymore. I'm going to say that we are building 36 units that will cover 10,720 square feet, the common spaces, because permanent supportive housing requires, we believe, the best practice model is like a REIT place, where there's common space, where there's opportunity for services and that kind of thing. So 9,400 square feet of that 2,100 square feet complex will be common space. Next slide. And so if you look at, say we had gone to a bank and we had borrowed, just, simple commercial loan, mortgage loan. So if we had borrowed the money that it would take for us to build Church Street Place, even if we raised say 20% of that. We still have debt service of $588,000 a year at 6% interest, which is where we stand right now, 30 years, 5-year balloon. That's a standard commercial deal. And then we talk about annual maintenance. Then we talk about tenant services, and that's our folks because they need clothing and food and laundry and many other support services that may not be available, that we wouldn't utilize in market rate units. And then, of course, annual maintenance. And so all of those things then puts that annual budget at, over $250,000. So go to the next slide. How many commercial banks with an annual expected rent of $175,000 a year, and that's what they were, is going to loan us, give us a commercial loan? Lots of banks. Lots of banks clamoring at the door to build housing for affordable 30%. Next slide. So how do we do that? So for Church Street Place, what we did was we worked with a group to raise what we call leverage and receive money. We raised about 1.7, but we don't need all of that in this deal, so I didn't put it up here. But the small rental development program at SC Housing is a forgivable loan program. It's sort of a dual thing. Some of it's forgivable, the majority of it's forgivable, but there is a portion of it that they will charge low interest debt service on. And so for this particular project, we have $7.2 million in basically free money. So it doesn't have to be paid back. Now, the stipulation is that we will keep those units affordable over an affordability period, which is generally 30 years. So that property cannot change hands or serve any other population but the one that the money has been designated for. So then grants and capital funding, again, at 1.5, and then low interest loans. Most of these loans, thanks to the Rainbow Housing Fund and GCRA, are 0 to 2% loans, 30 over 30. So 30 years amortization, 30 years term. And so look at the debt service there. We've got 1.2 million in debt service. So the annual debt service is some over the life. So the annual debt service is about $4,000 a month. That's incredible. So that's how we're able to do this. So with housing, and then rent subsidy is also important because we still have to create that, we still have to meet that budget. And so housing choice project-based vouchers are a good choice. The COC has permanent supportive housing programming through the COC annual competition. And then community subsidy fund that we haven't developed yet, but we certainly need. And then private donations. So that's the only way those are the sources that we have to cover those units. And so that's why we don't have a lot of our developers just concentrating on these particular projects. Now, we do have folks like NHE that we partner with that they'll designate 10, 20% of their units to low income, 30%, 50% or below. A lot of the LIHTC deals now that's coming out of SC Housing require that, or not required, but you can get additional points if you will add those units to your portfolio in your bill. And so I think just to help you understand why it's important that subsidy is important and why we continue to support forgivable loans in SC Housing and their National Housing Trust Fund, home funds, South Carolina Housing Trust Fund. Next slide. Okay, so this is sort of at a budget of this is the actual budget for the program. And so, as we work on the next project, we're hoping that we can even further expand how we're approaching just getting creative in capital stack and those kind of things. And hopefully some of you in this room can help us do that. All right, next slide. All right, so here's now our profit. We're cash flowing now. After we paid our expected annual, we collected our annual rent because We've used subsidies, so we've got $783 average. We've included a 7% vacancy rate because there always is one in the units. And so even at that, we come out with a cash flow annually of $74,000. And so, you know, in looking at that, those numbers work and they crunch. Now, we're not making a ton of money, but that's not why we're here, right? We're here to serve this population. So now, happy to answer questions, but Susan's only giving me 30 seconds. So talk about it. All right, so that's building the public-private partnership. Let's just switch again and just say that I was asked to announce that the South Carolina State of Homelessness report will be released likely in November. So look for it. Thank you.
And Angela Herks on Zoom says, way to go. Great work.
Hi, David. I'm David Samoff, and I'm with the Greenville Housing Authority. And first of all, I was going to give Lorraine 2 of my minutes. I think I can do that, can I?
I think, yeah, Libby might take your minutes there.
Yeah. Okay. A couple of things that I wanted to talk about today is I wanted to talk about the Housing Authority and what we're doing and where we're at. First of all, we're really excited because we became a move to work agency in April, and we've just finished submitting our annual supplement to HUD, waiting for approval from them. What is moving to work? Well, there are 139 agencies around the country that are move to work agencies. 39 are an original group from 2016, and then there are 100 that just recently have been separated into cohorts. In other words, different types of things that HUD is studying to possibly roll out to other agencies in the future. Greenville is one of 6 agencies in the state of South Carolina. There are a couple who are doing similar things to what we're doing, and we're doing landlord incentives. And a major part of the Moving to Work program is that we have to have hit 3 statutory objectives. One is to reduce costs and achieve greater cost effectiveness in our expenditures. One is to give incentives to families with children where the head is working, and increase housing choices for eligible low-income families. One of the things that the Housing Authority is responsible for is that out of all the people that become voucher holders or enter into our project-based program, 75% of those every year have to be at the extremely low income level. That's 30% or less. The other 25 can be in the 50%. So we're dealing with that group that is at 30%. So to us, affordable housing is mostly 30%, some into the 50% range. So the Moving to Work program gives us some flexibilities. And what that is we can exempt ourselves from some of the rules and the regulations that HUD requires. For one thing, we can use our money there. HUD pays us in 2 different pots of money, typically. One is to pay the landlord, and the other is to pay ourselves to keep the lights on. With the MTW program, we're able to combine both of those pots and therefore spend money in different ways. So for our first year being a Moving to Work agency, we've said to HUD that we want to do 25 different initiatives. Now, a lot of them have to do with things that we're doing internally within the agency, but a couple of them are really going to affect our participants in the program. And we actually support a little over 3,000 families within Greenville County, spend about $2 million a month in paying landlords a portion of the rent. But what we're trying to do is to help families be able to afford units a little bit better. One of the things that we're doing is, and I know Lorraine showed fair market rents, Well, HUD also has another set of rents. They're called small area market rents. And those are attached to zip codes. And so one of the things that we've done is we're going to begin using those small area FMRs. And HUD allows us to take those numbers and pay up to 150% of those small area FMRs. It's going to depend on how it all works. And we also have to keep track of how much money we're spending. But we're trying to give people the ability to move from areas of concentration of poverty into deconcentrated areas. We've done a little bit of that this year, where we've got some rents that are $300 more per month in some areas than in others. But our main focus for the study period, which is 4 years, is landlord incentives. We need more landlords. So how are we going to get them? So we're going to be paying vacancy losses. So if a unit is vacant in between voucher holders, we'll pay the landlord for that vacancy loss. We're going to pay some damage claims. We're also going to pay other landlord incentives. New landlords, we're going to be paying just a cash bonus. Lorraine talked a little bit about project-based vouchers. A couple of things that we've done is we've asked HUD to increase the percentage of our program that can be project-based vouchers. So right now, we're just about at the cap, which is 20% of our program. So we've asked to raise that an additional 30%, which is pretty significant. That's going to free up a number of project-based vouchers to assign to various projects. And we've also asked that those contracts, that we can extend the period of time that we can enter into those contracts up to 40 years. So that's another advantage. And we're looking at eliminating some of the selection process and how we go about applying those project-based vouchers. One of the things that we're doing is we are building a very robust self-sufficiency program for the participants in our program. And because one of the things that we're doing is we're also implementing term limits, a 10-year term limit for people who are on that have vouchers. Instead of it being a lifetime thing, it's 10 years. Now, of course, there are all sorts of hardships and other exemptions and things like that. And most of the policies for our program do not apply to elderly and disabled households. Okay, so it's those people who are able to work. One of the other things is we are going to have a work requirement within our program, so our families are going to have to work. We're also doing some housing development programs where the housing authority is going to take some of our funds that we have, and we're going to be investing it in projects where we can and help out for the financing of some of those programs, and also do some assistance with home ownership. So we've got a lot of things planned. We're waiting for HUD to say, okay, go ahead, get started. We are looking to get things going in January. But what are we doing now for the homeless population? First of all, we're heavily involved with the VASH program, which is the Veterans Administration's supportive housing program. We have 182 vouchers that HUD has given us for homeless veterans. I wish we were further along, but we're at about 160 veterans, homeless veterans that are now in units, and it's a great program. They also get supportive services from the Veterans Administration. When we opened our wait list last year in November, we added a homeless preference. So families that were homeless could check the box. And what we did is when we started pulling from our wait list, we went to homeless families first to try to get them involved and get a voucher, and they would be first. And then we we went to families that live or work in Greenville. And so that's being helpful. So rather house someone who's in this area than the family from Chicago. And finally, we've got over 100 families right now, probably closer to 150 families that have a voucher, that are out there looking. They're looking for a place to live, something that's affordable, something that's decent, safe, and sanitary. And the Housing Authority is behind them. We're here to work with landlords. We're here to work with developers, with project-based vouchers and other programs that we can assist you with. So, any questions?
There's maybe a special person on Zoom named Nancy Samloff watching.
Yes.
No, that was
Very
great.
special person.
That's great.
Okay.
Any questions?
All right. Thank you very much.
See you all. My name is Linda King. I work with the GHA Innovate Working Group. Susan asked me to speak today about some barriers to deeply affordable development. So we're talking about that, but to start off, slide two.
Yep.
I want to give a little update about our working group and what we've been doing this year. We have put together, several members, of the Greenville Working Group have put together a list that really outlines all of the service providers in our area. We have about 83 different service providers and housing providers that house those who are experiencing homelessness on this list. And we just wanted to kind of show y'all what we're asking, who those are. We have a list on our website, GHA, which is the constructed website after this. So what we really wanted to share with, for example, social workers at our university center, various groups, who are those entities that are housing those who are experiencing homelessness. This is countywide. We also, ask, what are some gating items for tenant eligibility? We have those listed in that list as well. And importantly, we, looked and saw, is the property within 1 mile to a Greenway stop? That's really important that people can actually access transportation, get them jobs or other service providers. So this is an active list. We're going to be working on it with Tina at the Greenville Housing Fund for basic data on a biannual basis. And this will be current and available to the public, but also in particular to those who do help house our local homeless population. Great. So we heard, today from Lynn, Lorraine and David about deeply affordable. So just to kind of go over a few terms and what we really mean with these words, with these definitions. This deck, you guys, this PowerPoint is what's printed on those tables. You can have a look. Deeply affordable is those households who are at 30% or below AMI. We heard, basically extremely low income, low income households who are severely cost burdens and more than 50% of their gross income housing. We heard Ray and David talk about fair market rent. Essentially, this is safe, decent, quality rent at which this is rent at the 40%. This is the rent at which 40% available apartments are at or below this rent level in the area. So for example, Greenville, and we're talking about what is fair market rent for our area, who could afford that? Housing wage, this is really a tool for measuring the gap between what income is needed to afford a rental unit and what low wage earners in our society and in our county actually take. So this might be easier for you guys to read if you look in your handout on the table, but this is essentially, helping contextualize why we talk about subsidy so much and why do we need so much subsidy to actually develop and build deeply affordable units in Greenville and across the nation. So in South Carolina, we don't have a state minimum wage, so companies that do adhere to Fair Labor Standards Act, the de facto state minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. Assuming someone works 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, they're making, $15,000 roughly. If they don't want to be cost burdened for their housing, they're able to spend $377 on housing per month. Of course, there are very few units in Greenville that are actually renting these levels. So to get to back into what wages were needed to afford a two-bedroom fair market rent in Greenville, we see that wage is $19.30. And again, this assumes someone works 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. What that really means is for someone making minimum wage, they have to work 107 hours a week or 2.7 full-time jobs in order to not be cost burdened, assuming they're making minimum wage. And of course, people in our society, they are earning various degrees of wages from $7.25 up to that $19.30, but we see there's overtime needed, time away from family that will have to be spent in order to not be cost burdened to people. So hopefully that kind of helps contextualize this need for something and why it's talked about so much. So I made a little case study, not as pretty as the rain, but it does get to the same kind of need. So we are talking about an example building of 100 units. We're in 3 scenarios. One is market rate, or 100% rent level for the person earning the area median income. The next scenario is we're building 30% of the total units at affordable rent levels for those earning 60% of AMI. And the third example is 30% affordable units at those earning 30% of AMI. So you can see we have a market rate scenario, what's typically built in our community, a mixed income, affordable scenario, and a deeply affordable scenario at 30% AMI rents. This is broken down so you guys can see market rate is about $1,600 that unit. Someone earning about 60% AMI can pay, that rent level is about $960. And the 30% earner is about nearly, just under $500. We think about what Lorraine said for, so much to build, and all of those costs to build and to operate the property are the same no matter what the tenant is earning, right? So we know our land, hard costs, soft costs, and inside the building, it's operational, controllable costs, uncontrollable costs are all fixed. So we know a big part of our kind of math equation, thinking about affordable housing is fixed cost. When we start to plug in, next slide, please. We start to plug in, what do these really mean for the development in terms of how the numbers really shake out and where we see steep declines in our property revenue, which impacts our debt service, as Lorraine said. We've seen our market rate scenario, and these numbers tie back on the revenue side to the last slide, so you guys can cross-reference these pages. In our market rate slide, in our market rate scenario, the property is earning about $1.2 million net operating income. And this is what a lender looks at to see how much debt we all really support and actually how much loan proceeds we really give as a lender. When we think about creating fixed income affordable housing, using 60% AMI rents and using 30% of the total building at those rent levels, that NOI drops about 20%, just shy of $1 million. When we go deeply affordable, our top line is now at 1.5 million, same fixed cost across all scenarios. And now our NOI at the property level is just under $800,000, which is nearly 35% less than the market rate scenario. So when we see these kind of large hanging off the cliff jumps, we see really why the subsidy is needed. It's really stark. I think it's helpful to put a lender case here. They're using a similar interest rate for a commercial loan, as Lorraine did, 6% rate, 30-year term, using a 1.2 of the DSCR. We see that under all of our scenarios there. So again, these tie to the different NOI scenarios there. We see that in our debt proceeds decrease with every single scenario for a property to support less debt based on the revenue. And effectively, this means that our net equity need, and those who in our community traditionally build and finance housing, including affordable housing, it gets less and less attractive to them. This is where the subsidy comes in. And it can be in various forms. We looked to Greenville Housing Fund's affordable housing report. There are a bunch of guiding tools for us in there that we can leverage. I want to discuss what does that mean in terms of other avenues. There's our tax incentives. Huge revenue across the county for introducing the abatement program. It is deeply impactful and really important. We also have exemptions we could pursue, increased subsidy from, as we heard Lorraine say, several areas. Land donation, we heard Lorraine talk about the skyrocketing cost of land right now is a really important avenue. special assessment districts, and also non-financial incentives, which will likely be less important to developers in our current economic environment. So these are some ways that we can think about, really sources to combat what we saw in terms of revenue drop off. And happy to answer any questions likely after this discussion when we have time.
Thank you. All right.
Hi, I am Susan Stahl, and I am the program director at Village Engaged. We're part of the Village Ministries. And the work that we do is we work primarily through the faith community, and our goal is to let people of faith know what social issues like lack of housing for all of our neighbors. We let people know what's going on in our community, and then we encourage them to become advocates or to become donors or to get engaged some way and helping be part of the answer. And so I wanted to Susan asked me to talk for a minute about kind of an action alert we just sent out. And what we're doing is we are asking people to contact their representatives on county council, send them letters or call them. First and foremost, to thank them for the program that Lynn Ballard just talked about. And I'm very glad my husband, said we need to clap, because that is a landmark decision and will be deeply impactful in our community. And at the same time, we would like to ask that all of our county council members, when they are talking about our neighbors who may be living in subsidized housing or may be unhoused, that we be really careful about the descriptions we use to describe our neighbors. There are many stereotypes that are used that are they do great damage. They create oppression. It's a violent use of language. And so while it may be, somebody saying, oh, well, we're not talking about those people, that's a problem. So while on the one hand, we want to absolutely say we have deep gratitude for the work the county council is doing, specifically this new incentive program. It's excellent, but housing all of our neighbors really should be the goal of our entire community. When anyone is unhoused, it's harming our entire community. So our goal is to house all of our neighbors. And we need to, when we are talking about all of our neighbors and all of their different needs, we really need to speak with them, about them, if we're talking about them or with them, with respect and dignity. Thank you.
Susan McClarty. So on your table, we're trying to give you lots of tools today. But there is a sheet that begins with, we invite you to write your representative on county council. And on each table, we have a list of your county council representatives, but we want to encourage you to take materials from today's meeting back home, craft an email to all county council. So that link we're giving you, you can just click and it'll bring up their email address. And then pick some points from this letter or from the backside, which has more data, or use some of Liva's data or Lorraine's data, or anything that's in our report. We're trying to point you to many ways that you could let your council members know more about our neighbors that we seek to serve. And if you want to view a Facebook Live video of when this policy that Councilmember Ballard discussed was also discussed in a working group called a county council committee as a whole. We've given you that information, and you can view a segment of that meeting that we were concerned about and wanted to ask all of our stakeholders to help us with providing a broader education while we also thank our council members. So please do that. We put note cards in the center if you want to take one of those with an envelope. I know I love to get a handwritten note, and they always are something that sometimes I'll keep as a reminder. So please use one or both or all, and we thank you for helping us with that. Y'all still with us? All right, good. This is the interactive portion of the event. I am up here to talk to you guys for a few minutes about our Ignite event, which happens on November the 15th. And I can't see the slides at all, so I don't know where we are yet. I have 3 things I want to talk to you about. Number one, the number one reason, the number one goal of doing this event this year is we want more people in our community to understand what homelessness really looks like locally and how they can engage and be part of the solution. So this event is going to have stories from people who have lived experience, from the service providers who walked alongside them. You're going to see your friends up there. Some of you are even going to be up there in videos. We have these beautiful banners we created that have QR codes on them that after the event we'll have the opportunity for them to travel around the community and for people to hear the stories firsthand about what homelessness really looks like and what it takes to end it. We are going to have these wonderful little houses that you saw when you came in that were created in a collaborative project with Trinity Mercy Center's Art Room. We have this wonderful art piece that we're going to unveil that day. Destiny Chance is going to be our MC again. So it's going to be a great event. So take out your phones. Is the QR code up?
It's up.
Scan the QR code, and you can get a free virtual ticket. Now, this is the deal. To get more people to be a part of this event, we need you to not only sign up to participate virtually, but we need you to also invite your family and friends. And so the second thing I'm going to talk to you about is being a part of our social media squad. And all that means is go onto our social media sites, follow us, like us, share our posts about the event, and try to get more and more people to know about what we're doing. We really do think this is going to be an impactful event, and the more people that see it, the more opportunity we have for people to have their hearts and minds changed about homelessness in our community. And as we know, the system that holds homelessness in place, systems are just people. The more people that want to see this change, the more opportunity we have for people to change policies and procedures and resource flows and all the things we talked about today that we need to get housing in this community. And then finally, the last thing I want to tell you about is this QR code on this page takes you to a landing page that talks about the event, and I'll give you more details about the event, but it will also give you the opportunity to watch the latest Mythbuster video that we just released today that our Educate Working Group has created. And this is another great opportunity for our community to learn more about homelessness. But you also have a chance to take the Mythbuster quiz to see how much you know. And we will draw a winner from the participants in the quiz to win one of these painted houses. And Susan, if you'll stand up and turn around. And one of these GHA t-shirts. Thank you.
That's
So that's it. Like us, follow us, share it, get your virtual ticket, invite your friends, and we look forward to seeing you all on November the 15th. Thanks.
The video. Yeah, okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Heather. I don't have anything free or a QR code. But I wish I did. No, just a few quick announcements as we wrap today up. First of all, thank each and every one of you for being here at this meeting. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing out in the community. I have been here in Greenville since 1999. And seeing this difference is really, really impressive. All of us working together. Greenville's always had a kind of a wonderful passion about working together. but now I see it on a different level. And so I'm very, very excited to see where we're going as a community. Just want to share a couple of announcements. So in January, the third week of January is when our community, and actually every community across the country, does the homeless point in time count. And so we're looking for volunteers to be able to make that happen. And
It just has a mind of its own.
yeah, it does. So we're looking for volunteers. You can reach out to Natalie Wilson at United Housing Connections. And she is at nwilson@uhcsc.org. So nwilson@uhcsc.org. We're looking for volunteers to help with that count. Again, this is something that we do and every community does across the country. For beginning in 2023, we're going to be moving our meetings to Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. It'll be the fourth Wednesday of the month. You see the dates are already there, so go ahead and plug those in. And then places will be determined, so we'll have those times available, and we look forward to that. And now I'd like to invite Pam Sims, Sheriff President and CEO, and also Susan McClarty up here for a special presentation. And we'd also like to invite County Councilman Lynn Ballard, please, to the stage. So then we want to say thank you for your tireless work and efforts throughout many, many years, helping folks who are experiencing homelessness, advocating for affordable housing, serving those who are least fortunate throughout our community year in and year out. We hope that you will still continue to do those wonderful things, even if you're not serving as a county council person. And we just want to say thank you for your hard work. It is paying off. It is making a difference.
Lynn has a long history and has been with us since the idea of the Homeless Alliance bubbled up. He has gone on field trips to places like Charlotte, where we learned about permanent supportive housing. Raise your hand if he sent you an article. Constantly, and he shares, and that is so important for us as a community. Lynn shows up. He's probably attended more of our meetings than any other member of council, and we really always appreciate his input. During this time, he has also been a founding board member with the Greenville Housing Fund. I think we have some board members in attendance with us today. He's also served on the board of SHARE.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to read what we're presenting Lynn today. This is the Bridge Award, presented to Lynn Ballard for service to the people of Greenville County experiencing homelessness and for exemplifying the vision, mission, and values of the Greenville Homeless Alliance on this day, October 27th, 2022.
When Deb came here, I spoke to her, and she said, "I'm excited about your award." I had no idea. This is the second one of a similar situation. I had this happen a couple of weeks ago, and at that one, the governor and lieutenant governor.
Like you're dealing with us now.
I'm humbled by this. This is such an important issue. And it's such an issue that is so misunderstood in some of your comments. And it's something that takes tireless effort continually to try to make a difference. And what I have always looked at when we're talking about dealing with homelessness and affordable housing and all those sorts of things is the story of the man and the starfish. And I'm sure most of you are aware of that, but the man that walks along the beach and he picks up a starfish and throws him back out, and he goes on and he picks up another one and throws him back out. And finally, somebody followed him for a while and he stopped him. He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm getting these starfish that are stranded on the beach and I'm throwing them back out in the ocean." He said, "Well, you can't save all of them." The man reached over and picked up another one and threw it out and said, "I saved that." So we know that we will constantly be dealing with this situation. As a matter of fact, Jesus told us in the Bible, the poor will always be with you. But whatever we can do to help, it may help that one. And that's what it's all about. But thank you very much. I am so humbled to receive this award.
The final announcement is to please see Tina Belgi at the back. Okay, Tina, she works for the Greenville Housing Fund, and we want to thank Tina and her colleagues there who did a lot of work alongside our county council on this policy you heard about today. But she's going to be creating a short video to thank county council, so they should see you after this meeting. Go see Tina. All right. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you all.